Hello all, so this is Jade Productions. We're going to finish up Fourth Wing today, talking about it. I do have headphones on. There's other stuff going on in my house, and noise canceling headphones will hopefully help with everything. My hair is back in a claw clip and I'm wearing different glasses. But it's still me, Jade Productions. So today we're going to talk about everything that happens during war games. So we left off talking about how they get sent to this town and it tells them basically just to survive, and our main character Violet has found out that Wervin exists, and so did Venin, which she thought they might. I'm not gonna lie, she did bring it up a couple times to her sister, and her sister basically just shoved her off and said, stop believing all those fantasy books that you keep reading from Dad. And so our main character does end up just moving on from it and continue what she's doing. But they're at this location. She's a small town being attacked, and I believe we talked about Liam dying and Soriel dying. So those were some of the only deaths that happened at this point in time. We talked about her finding out her brother is alive. I think we might have basically finished up some war games then. So the first book ends with her saying Brennan and him being like, hello little sis. So we're actually not talking about war games today. That's my bad for not remembering. We're actually going to start talking about Iron Flame. Now that is the second book in the series. This might come off more ranty because it's more fresh in my brain. So yeah, I kind of got pretty mad at our main character Violet in Iron Flame. I mean, her reactions are understandable, and I guess it also makes her more realistic of a main character for her to have some flaws. But she just kind of made me mad because it's like, I don't think anybody else would have approached it that way. But yeah, anyway, we're gonna get up through part 1. The book is split into part 1 and part 2. I don't really remember where it splits, if I'm being honest. No, I think I do. Anyway, I'm just gonna get into it. Sorry. So it starts off with her being asleep and all of a sudden waking up, and Zayden's there and she gives him a kiss, and he's really happy that she's awake because I think she's been asleep for 2 days. It doesn't really say how long she's been asleep in the book. It just says she woke up and first thing she did was kiss Zayden. But then she remembered, and then Zayden was like, does she forget everything? Did she forget everything? And it's like, no, she didn't. It's just she's thankful that they're alive. And then she starts getting mad at him again, and understandable, she feels like he lied to her, but also he couldn't really tell her. I mean, let's be real, she knew a little bit, and that's how they ended up getting found out, which I'm not saying it's Violet's fault, but like, can she be a little realistic here? Like, I get you're in love with this man, and it feels awful when someone lies to you about something, but if he told you, everything would have went to crap. Like, did I break my chocolate? No. Everything would have went to crap, and they would have been found out. Like, he can't tell you everything. So then they start making a plan of how to go back. Because they need to go back to keep the trade routes that are happening. And they don't really want just like first years and second years. They want people who have graduated to be joining this fight because they're trained properly. which makes sense, but sorry, my cat's looking at me. It makes sense, but there's no but. That just genuinely makes sense. I'm just concerned when reading it about, obviously, like, what's going to happen to our characters that we're all of a sudden connected to after going through that traumatic, reading them, going through that traumatic experience. So they make a plan. They head back. Zane gets to graduate. The only person who knows about the trade routes ends up being Dane and Dane's dad. So Violet's mom, who is the head honcho, please ignore that big old, like, black lump of mascara. It's bothering me, so I know it's probably bothering some of you, and I'm so sorry, but I cannot fix it. Excuse me. So the only person who ends up knowing about it is Dane and Dane's dad, and Violet's mom has no idea about it. So they're banking on Violet's mom's love for her and genuine care for her, and it ends up working, honestly. So Violet's mom ends up believing her and gives Dane's dad consequences, but not Dane, because she doesn't know about Dane's part in it. So it's the next year. Zane's graduated. He's a lieutenant. They're told they can see each other every fortnight. So they were really smart about it, and they staggered it, so they only have to wait actually 7 days. So if that, let's make this make sense first. So a fortnight's 14 days. Okay, so Zayden, his first fortnight is going to be here, and then Violet's will be here, so it's just 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. So, well, it's more like they got two different commands. Zayden, I'm pretty sure, got told he could see her every 7 days, and Violet got every fortnight, so they were smart about it and lined them up. So it's only ever actually 7 days. So yeah. So they're going back and forth, and Violet is really, she's trying to, like, it's really hard for her because this whole, like, section is just her trying to keep secrets from her closest friends, and the whole first book is about building those friendships like their family, so she can't tell Redoc, Sawyer, or Ree about anything because she's scared it's going to blow the whole operation, and then she's also scared that they're going to start getting targeted because there's this one guy who, this one sergeant who started to target her. I think it's Vincent. Vincent starts to target her and goes bag check and, like, all of that, which is against their rules, but Violet really can't do anything about it because he's gonna use the excuses like, oh, she's visiting a relic marker, like, we have to make sure she's fine, blah blah blah. So all of their signets end up developing. So Ree can teleport things or transfer things from, say, across the room to her, okay? And that power can slowly grow as she practices. I don't really remember what Roy and Redox is. It has something to do with metal. Yeah, sorry. Their signets kind of don't really come into play very often. At least in the first half that I'm talking about. Violet's is lightning. She can wield lightning. She doesn't have control, though. Kind of just happens when she's feeling feelings. So, that's all feelings. And every feeling. So, anger, jealousy, pain, lust. Yeah, so lightning will randomly hit during certain scenes. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down, so I'm gonna move on from that. And if she's doing, like, challenges and stuff, she might randomly be feeling the urge of, like, lightning in her because they can for sure feel it. Anyway, I'm talking about their signets because Reese comes into play. So Violet gets a dagger from Xaden, and she's also wearing Xaden's coat. So Vincent, the little meanie he is, decides to stop her and be like, "You're impersonating the lieutenant." Let's be real. We've all worn our boyfriend sweatshirts. I know I have. I've worn my boyfriend sweatshirts nearly almost every day, every other day. Okay? That's like such a cute thing. I'm not wearing one now. This is mine. But yeah. So it's like she's not really impersonating Lieutenant. She's just wearing her boyfriend's jacket. And like that's what she kind of just points out. She's like, buh, 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 buh. And it's actually another professor that comes up and stands beside Violet and is like, she doesn't look like she's impersonating anybody. She's well in with her rights. Violet, but hand over the jacket and let me search it. So Violet sees Rhea at the corner of her eye in her room because she's being questioned outside of their rooms. And don't blink. Being questioned outside of her room, which is right across from Violet's room. So Violet sees the look on, Rhea sees the look on Violet's face, and Violet shows the dagger, hoping that Rhea is going to read her eyes and her body language and be like, blah, blah, and use her signet, you know? So then she hands over the jacket. She hasn't felt to know if Rhea's done it. She thinks Rhea shut the door. So she's like, oh no, Rhea's protecting herself. Even though Rhea has no idea why Violet's being targeted at this moment. So all of a sudden, the professor searches the jacket, then hands it back to Violet. And then both professors walk off, Vincent and all of them. So Violet picks up all the stuff from her bag, puts it back in, and she then... It's also questioned because she has Garrett's jacket too, which is Xaden's cousin, who's also a lieutenant, who's also a curse mark, or a rebel mark kid. So that's also a reason the other professor tries to say search her. I don't remember why she has Garrett. Or Garrick's, it's spelled like Garrett but with a CK. So Garrick's jacket, but she does. Anyway, so Violet goes psst, and Rhea goes psst, and Violet runs into Rhea's room, and she has the dagger, and she goes, okay, now explain. And Sawyer and Redoc are also in Rhea's room. So they're all like, yeah, Violet, explain. Violet finally comes clean, okay? And she's so happy she has someone to finally trust. Imogen has been telling her this whole time to trust them, because they're your squad mates, they're your family. Like, you should trust them to the death. But Violet's just been scared because as second years you learn how to go through an interrogation without breaking. And she was scared because the one professor, Vincent, knows that Violet knows something about this rebellion thing starting back up. He has no proof. He has nothing. But he knows because of Dane's dad. And Violet's already been targeted by assassins. And I skipped over it because it's like a one-time incident. I don't really want to talk about everything that happens in this book. Because both of them are like 600-page books. And we could be here for a long time if I did that. I did break up the first one into like 2 or 3. This will be broken up into 2. But she's already been targeted by people. There was a first year that tried to kill her, and she ended up having to kill him. And right now she's really focused on trying to keep this rebellion thing going. And not just that, but Liam's sister, if you remember Liam from that last few videos, Liam's sister is officially here training. She is a first year. She survived Power Pet. She is now going through challenges, and Imogen and Violet are like, let us help you. And Liam's sister's name's Sloane, and she hates Violet. she blames Violet for Liam's death. And, yeah. And Violet wants Sloane to let Imogen train her because Imogen also trains Violet. Now, since Xaden has left, it's all up to Imogen to train her and keep her strength up, which Imogen was just her strength trainer at first. If you have ever done sports, you know it's going to be separate people. So Violet says, I have letters from your brother, and every day you show up to train with Imogen, I'll give you one. And Sloane goes, that's not right, those are mine. Everything of his was burned, because that's the tradition of their culture, is to burn everything of someone who's passed, to give it to their god of death, Malik. They do have multiple gods. There's a god of luck, I don't remember his name. I know Malik's the god of death because it's mentioned multiple times, because this book is riddled with death. But yeah, so Sloane agrees and starts training with Imogen. So we're going to hop back to ahead. So Imogen has been confiding in Violet and being like, tell your friends you're distancing yourself with them, which isn't helpful for you and it's not helpful for them. And she feels like she can finally tell Rhee, because Rhee was starting to figure stuff out anyway. Rhee, Redoc, and Soil were already not trusting their teachers and stuff because their parents are on the outskirts of the towns and they know of attacks that are happening, and they're not talking about them in their battle brief class, which is when you're supposed to be talking about relevant battles that are happening. And they're just not talking about it. So she finally feels like, okay, I can tell them. So she tells them everything, and Rhee hugs her and is like, why didn't you just tell us sooner? We could have been helping you with everything. And she's like, I didn't want you guys to get targeted or tortured, and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, girl, if you're targeted, we're targeted. We're a team. And she was like, I know, but you cannot tell anybody. And there's only one other person that knows what Violet is trying to find out right now, and that is Geminine, who is actually a scribe that Violet has been friends with for a long, long time. And she's been the one giving Violet books and not reporting giving Violet those books, because there was a person that wanted to borrow a book that had certain information in it, and he got killed. Which lets you know, basically, that the higher-ups are hiding and lying and changing history and making Griffin fighters seem like the bad guys when they're not. And it makes it seem like that they're not preparing them for what they're truly going to be fighting, is basically it. So they're all a gang again, right? Well, Violet then goes, no, I can't skip there. I cannot skip there. I was going to skip to my least favorite character in this whole thing, and I low-key hope she dies. Horrible for me to say, get it, but when you read the book, if you read the book, you'd understand. Anyway. So, we have to start off first with the interrogation unit. So, I'm going to stop after talking about the interrogation unit, because everything kind of hits the fan then. So, Violet and her friends are picked up to be interrogated. And they're beating Violet and everything, and they're just trying to get their group to break. Well, none of them end up breaking, and they end up escaping the interrogation. That's not the interrogation unit I am talking about. I'm talking about when Violet comes back. I don't remember how they ended up grabbing her to interrogate her, but they did. And he is breaking her bones, making this one guy remend them. And if you remember, riders have a bond with their dragons and they can talk to them. Well, this guy who has been healing Violet her whole life, he's a healer, he's old, and he's been healing Violet since she was a baby, basically drugs her where her connection with her dragon is cut off. So she is weak. She cannot get in contact with her signet because your power for your signet comes from your dragon. She can't talk to her dragon, who cannot talk to Sigil. So Zane can't come rescue her. This is all she is thinking about, because she can't do anything. She is down on this chair, trapped, being tortured. Her bones are being broken and then remended. Like, her face is getting hit and punched and slapped. She's not giving anything up. And something that she learned to block out Dane is she can put up walls. She can use her power to put up walls. She does it to sometimes block out her dragon and also Xaden. Xaden can communicate with her in her head also. It's never addressed why. They assume it's because their dragons are mates, so Xaden's dragon can talk to Violet. Violet can talk to Xaden's dragon. Xaden can talk to her dragons, you know. All of their brains are interlinked. Communication lines are interlinked. So she's like, she's just trying to not break and hold on faith. Now this scene really gets me, and I'm going to try not to cry while retelling it, because it really makes me want to hate Vincent and Dane. So Violet is being tortured, and to keep from going insane, she is dehydrated. It has been 3 or 4 days. She starts hallucinating Liam, and Liam's talking to her, and being like, Zane's gonna come for you. He's not gonna wait till Saturday. Just like, hold on, don't give in. And as they're like torturing her, he's by her side saying, I'm not gonna leave you. And she's like, Liam, please don't leave me. And he goes, I'm not gonna leave you. I never have. And he's just like, it's so, oh, I won't cry, but it's so good. And so Dane comes in, right? He's part of this torture session, and he doesn't know what's been going on. I'm not gonna lie. So some credit to him, some brownie points. But Vincent tells him to read her mind, her memory, and she doesn't have any power, so she can't block him out. So he goes to read it, and she shoves all the memories of Liam forward, his death, the lies, everything. Not everything. She doesn't talk about the place she's trying to keep a secret. But she shoves it all forward, and he's like, oh, there's trade routes, and you think he is hating on her. And she's like, everything I just showed you with Liam's death, that's what you pick up. And Liam's like, it's okay, you tried your best, like, I'm not gonna leave you no matter what. And I'm a bawling mess while reading this, and she's like, you see how Liam, like, she's just thinking how Liam protected her, and she's like, she wishes it was her who died, not Liam. And he goes, I would do it again, and I would do it in a heartbeat. You didn't choose it, I did. And it's just, I'm gonna try not to cry, because it's, when you read it and you get connected to him, and this is like a whole chapter of him essentially being alive again in her mind. And she's like, I'm protecting your sister, I'm giving her the letters. And he's like, I knew you would. And it's just, it's so good, but I'm not gonna cry. I'm gonna stay strong. Not that crying's not strong. Crying is a normal emotion, and it's perfectly fine to feel. It's just I couldn't then talk. So that's why I don't want to cry right now. I can cry about it later. But, so, she ends up getting rescued. Dane throws a knife at Vincent, gets Violet out. Zane's right there, and Zane goes, oh my gosh, Violet, and he uses shadows to encapsulate her. He's holding her. He's like, are you okay? She's like, oh my gosh, you came, you're throwing everything out the window. And he goes, you think I care about everything? You're my everything. And I can't remember his exact speech, but beautiful. I might put it up over here. I'll get a snapshot of it and put it up here. And you can read it. Just pause the video to read it. But that is his love confession or confession at the moment. I don't know if it's his loved one. I think his loved one might come later. But yeah, so they get out and then Violet's mom's there and she goes, give me 3 minutes with my daughter. And Xaden's reluctant, but she does. And Violet's mom is talking to her and she's like, I'm glad Xaden's keeping up on his promise he made me. And she's like, what? And she goes, on the day you left for the writers, I called Xaden in to cash in on a favor. And that favor was, in order for the rebellion kids to get a chance to survive and all become writers rather than being executed, Xaden was essentially lashed 107 times, once for each child of a rebellion parent. And he has the scars on his back. Violet's seen them. She knows what they're about, but she didn't know who gave them to him, and she didn't want to ask because she was too scared to be her mom. And as giving them, the kids, the chance to survive and live, Violet's mom's like, you owe me something someday. And she told Xaden to protect her daughter. Don't let her die. Don't have to be friends with her, but don't let her die. She says, but I wasn't counting on this to happen. And by then, they're back up with Xaden and Dane and all of them. And they're riding off to the town that they've all been trying to keep a secret this whole time. And I will tell you that town in the next story. Because then we also, yay, meet my least favorite character. And I'm going to rant. And I'm going to rant and rant. And I'm going to get real mad. You're going to see me get so mad. When I get mad, I speed up my talking. I will try to remember to keep it slower. But yeah. Thank you for listening to Jade Productions. This has been my recap and kind of my feelings as reading certain parts of the book. I intended on this to just kind of be a rant about the book, but then I didn't feel right if some of you wanted to hear about the rant but hadn't read the book. But also, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. But maybe if you're like me, the spoilers really don't matter and you still kind of want to read it. They are available at Barnes & Noble. You could also get them on Amazon or at your local library. But yeah, thank you for listening. Can't wait for you guys to tune into the next video. Bye!